What's up, everybody? This is Panic Knife with theawfulgamer.com. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about the new Battlefield 3 trailer that came out this week. It's kind of interesting if you look at it, and I'll put a link to it in the description, and I might even drop an annotation on the video. We'll see. Depends on how much time I want to spend waiting for the flash to load on YouTube. But if you take a look at the video, it gives you some kind of hints into what the game's going to be like, which is really interesting stuff. It's not exactly like Bad Company 2 or like Battlefield 2 felt, it looks like to me. It's kind of interesting. First of all, the first thing I noticed, the map that they show, which is it's involved in Paris. It's it's got the subway involved. It's got it looks like the Champs-Élysées. You know, it's incredibly huge. I mean, if you look at it, there's an underground section where you're fighting in the metro rail. You've got the corridors there, which is another thing I wanted to mention. There's a lot of corridors where it's sort of Call of Duty-esque, where you have very small openings. There's not a whole lot of room to maneuver side to side or jump to cover. You can jump in the train, you can jump onto the rails, that sort of thing. And there's a lot of staircases, so that you have 3 tiers. It looks like there's an outside section where there's a park, and there's there's the street side. There's all the kinds of different scenarios where you can create firefights. One of the other interesting things I saw was there's actually in this map a Bradley fighting vehicle going beside you. So you've got infantry, you've got vehicles, you've got the corridory tight crisp action in the underground. You could literally have, especially considering this is on the PC, a 64-man battle, and you're not even really overwhelmed by running into people. Which, even though Battlefield 2 was a very large game and there were some pretty huge maps, that sort of thing, I can't remember anything with that kind of scale, which is really kind of interesting. I think that what they wanted to do was be able to create a situation where you've got a larger number of people on the team, but you're not feeling overwhelmed by getting plinked every 2 seconds. I mean, if you've ever jumped in on a PC game of Black Ops or of Modern Warfare 2 or COD 4, you'll notice that if you get into a 64-man lobby, you spawn in and you pretty much die right away because there's just so many people in each square inch of the map. So it's interesting that they wanted to create these games of such large scale, but not have situations where you really are going to run into too many people. Now, that being said, I'm sure when you get into situations where there's a lot of vehicles, that sort of thing, it's going to be interesting because there's you're going to build a carpet bomb areas. You're going to be able to strafe from the air and cover a lot of ground on a tank or something like that. But it really it presents an opportunity where you're not going to have a situation where you're going to have to worry so much about spawn trapping or something like that. Although I'm sure that'll still happen a little bit, but it's interesting design. I kind of like it. The other thing you really notice with this trailer is just how beautiful and photorealistic this game is. I can't remember a game that looks the way this one does. The closest thing I can think of is Crysis, but from what we've seen, it's not going to be quite as intensive as Crysis was, whereas Crysis used every ounce of the computer. We haven't really gotten that impression from the Frostbite 2 engine, or 3, I'm not really sure. It might be Frostbite 3. But it should be interesting to see how it runs on PCs and how they can adapt that to consoles. I saw another article, which I'll also post in the description, that talked about how somebody played or saw the game played on the PlayStation 3, and that's kind of the question we've had, which is how is it going to run on the consoles, considering it's been developed primarily for the PC. The reports are from this person that it's very interesting, it's very close to the PC. And now the thing that I would be worried about is the frames per second. Now people don't really, they kind of sleep on the frames per second aspect and how that really affects the game. The thing is, if you pop in Battlefield Bad Company 2 and you play that for a while, you'll be thinking, this is a great game. You get a lot of teamwork, etc., etc. When you pop in COD 4 or Modern Warfare 2 or something like that, you notice how much crisper it feels, how much smoother it feels, how easy it is to aim, and how twitchy it is. Some people like that and some people don't. Personally, I love it. It's an entirely different experience in your game because you've got this ability to fluidly move from one spot to the other. That's not the case in Battlefield Bad Company 2. Sometimes when you run, you can't, turn on a dime the way you can in COD 4 or something like that and take a shot at somebody. It's just a little bit, not clunkier, but I guess clunky is the best way I can describe it. So 30 versus 60, it basically, in this day and age, it makes the difference between a shooter being a tactical shooter or being sort of a twitch shooter. There aren't very many games that run at 60 frames per second, but with the way everybody's expecting Battlefield 3 to be, I'm not going to be surprised if people think, maybe they're a little bit off-put by the fact that on the consoles it's only going to be running at 30 frames per second. Now, if you look at it on the PC, though, it looks extremely smooth and almost Call of Duty-esque, which is it's interesting. I wasn't really expecting that. When you play Battlefield 2 on the PC, which I might put some videos out at some point before Battlefield 3 comes out, the game is really, it's pretty smooth, especially because you can run, almost, 100 frames per second or something like that, because the game is last gen with your PC. If you have any kind of a good PC, it'll run really fast. But it never really felt like Call of Duty. You can really run around for a long time and not engage anybody. The vehicles obviously are a huge departure, but it wasn't really a twitch shooter. Now, this Battlefield 3 preview, especially with the different corridors and that sort of thing, it makes it feel a lot more like Call of Duty, which is an interesting addition to the game. I'm not really sure if it's going to end up playing out like that, but that's what my impression is on it. Now, one of the things that I did also notice in the trailer, which is it's the coup de grace of the trailer, if you will. It's when the player knifes somebody, it still is one of those large knife animations. So that does lend to the idea that it will be less Call of Duty-esque, with the quick knife and keep moving type thing, and more like Bad Company 2 was with the the animations, and takes you out of the game a little bit. Sort of more realistic, obviously. So it's pretty interesting. I definitely think you should check it out. This wasn't really the only thing that was released this week about Battlefield 3, which is kind of interesting. There was another video, which I will also post. Actually, no, you know what? I'll post the Kotaku link to the video because I don't want to really patronize the guy's page. There's some idiot that leaked some of the closed beta footage, which just showed the destructibility of the game, which showed his own, montage of kills, some D-bag thing like that. It's first of all, it brings up a couple issues. One, it shows more candid multiplayer, which confirms the things we were looking at in the trailer, which is a nice thing. But two, it's the dumbest thing you could have done. First of all, the first clip, the guy has some awful techno music behind his gameplay, but he forgets to cover up his freaking gamer tag, so I'm sure he's going to get sued by DICE and EA, because you can't do that. You can't release beta footage. You know what? I might be in a beta or something like that you wouldn't even know about, because I'm not going to tell you. You sign a non-disclosure agreement. You're not supposed to talk about these things. You're not supposed to release footage before the company tells you. Now, if you send your stuff to Kotaku or to Destructoid or something like that, you can expect to get sued. That's the whole point. You're not supposed to release things to the media. Now, did I watch the video? Sure, of course. I'm really interested in the game. Should he have done it? Absolutely not, and he's going to get what's coming to him. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about with the trailer as well is this game going to be more like Battlefield Bad Company 2, or is it going to be more like Battlefield 2? There is a big difference between the two. First of all, in Battlefield 2, the obvious difference is that you're more in control of a lot of different vehicles, a lot of different aircraft, that sort of thing. Whereas in Battlefield Bad Company 2, you have a lot of vehicles, but you weren't able to get into the planes and all that sort of thing, which added a completely different, you know, dynamic to the game, which is kind of interesting. One of my buddies, all he'd ever do is he'd throw his joystick onto the PC and use that to fly around in the planes, you know, sprint to the planes when they spawn in, that sort of thing. So that's kind of an interesting addition that people should enjoy. Now, I don't know how that'll play out on the consoles. I guess with the joysticks it shouldn't be too bad. I know on the with a mouse and keyboard it was a nightmare to control those things, but if you had the joystick it was pretty cool. But yeah, it should be an interesting addition. Other than that, though, Battlefield 2 felt a little bit faster to me than Bad Company 2. Bad Company 2, I don't know, I love the game, and obviously you're looking at footage of me playing the game. Not that I'm any good at it, but it's just got a little bit of a slower, more methodical feel to it, and the maps are a little bit smaller. So in Battlefield 2 versus Bad Company, you've got the more airstrike capabilities, the more air-to-air based combat, that sort of thing, which just adds more scale to the game, and also it feels a little bit faster. There's also fewer game modes in Battlefield 2 versus Bad Company 2. You don't have the rush games, you don't have some of the team deathmatch games. A lot of the Battlefield 2 games were just straight up, you know, domination or conquest or something like that, where you would get in, you know, a map like Karkand, you'd have 6 or 7 different points that you'd have to control the majority of them, and it basically would end up becoming a battle where, you know, one side would either press the other side back into their, you know, the original spawn point, or you would sort of maneuver as a team in order to make your way over towards the other people's spawn. It was kind of an interesting dynamic and felt, well, you know, a little bit more like actual war, which is really, it's a fascinating dynamic, and you can get into, you know, these hour-long games, which doesn't sound interesting to everybody, but it actually adds some scale and some interesting, you know, little things about it itself. Whereas in Bad Company 2, you're going to have a little bit shorter games, especially in some rush games, where you would, you know, obviously if you've never played it, it's essentially you're going from one point to the other, blowing up bombs, and then it adds it a second objective and that sort of thing. So it's an attack defend type game. Now, I don't know if there's going to be that sort of a game mode in Battlefield 3, but it'll be interesting to see what they put in there. I know that one of the nice things about the Call of Duty franchise is the multitude of different objective games, and even though that's not my forte, a lot of people love that. So it'll be interesting to see if Battlefield decides to put those in. One of the other little things that was added, or you know, that was released this week, was another dumbass who leaked things from the closed beta, which was BattleLog. You know, this is supposedly their answer to the Call of Duty Elite system, where, you know, you're gonna be able to track your own stats, improve your play, that sort of thing. I have to say I was really underwhelmed by that, and again, I'm gonna link that in the description as well. I was underwhelmed by BattleLog. It looks exactly like essentially what we've already got, which is you log on to battlefield.com, I believe it is, and it'll show you your stats, your kill-death ratio, which guns you use, what your next unlocks are, that sort of thing. Now, I don't know exactly what Call of Duty Elite is going to have, but if it's anything like this, I mean, first of all, I wouldn't pay for Call of Duty Elite, and it's nice that BattleLog is supposedly free, but I mean, I'm really underwhelmed by it. I'm not really sure what all the fuss is about. So, it'll be interesting. Again, I'm going to post all the links in the descriptions. It's been a pretty big week when it comes to Battlefield 3 news. It's sort of their answer to all the news that was coming about Modern Warfare 3 in the last couple weeks. It should be interesting in the next few weeks how more information comes out as these games come closer to release. You know, we're going to be covering here at the Awful Gamer both Battlefield 3 and Modern Warfare 3. And in addition, we're going to be covering just about every big game that's going to come out this fall, including Gears of War 3, you know, anything like that. Uncharted 3. A lot of threes this year. But, you know, if you have any suggestions for anything else we should be covering, if you have any suggestions on things we should be covering now, please, by all means, drop something in the comments, and we'd love to do it for you. We want to vary up the content as much as possible and keep it all interesting for you. Anyway, with theawfulgamer.com, this is Panic Knife. Go ahead and give me a like and subscribe to our channel, and give us a comment. Let us know what you think about Battlefield 3, this trailer, and these changes that have been coming up. Anyway, theawfulgamer.com. Panic Knife. Have a good night.